Welcome everyone to the CBCC Voice Business Unboxed podcast. I'm Karma and I'm so glad you're joining us. Alongside me is my fantastic co-host, Wally, from the Canterbury Bankstown Chamber of Commerce. Together we're here to unpack the stories, strategies and insights that drive business success. Wally, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Karma, and good afternoon, everyone. And we come to you from the electoral office of Leppington. I believe Leppington is going to be on the map, international map. Obviously, the international airport is going to play a vital role, but we're going to tap into it as well. The key question first, how do you define a vibrant member of parliament? And I managed to come up with this testimonial. They are approachable and visible, always engaging with people from all walks of life, whether at local community events, schools, or small businesses. Their presence radiates passion and positivity, inspiring trust and participation. And I think that's how I can describe the member for Leppington, Nathan Hagarty. Nathan, welcome on board.
Thank you.
And thank you for giving us your time. And we're very excited to be here. Yes, we are away from Canterbury Bankstown, but we believe that we are one community. And the Southwest is an amazing destination, need to be on the map.
That's it. No, thank you. That was probably one of my better intros. I like that one. That was good. And thank you for having me on the show. And as you said, the Canterbury Bankstown Chamber is bigger than Canterbury Bankstown. It reaches right out to the southwest and is doing a fantastic job to really harness that opportunity that's coming with this region. I know we're going to get into it later, but especially with the airport and the Aerotropolis.
Absolutely. But first, let's get people to understand who's Nathan on a personal note. So please, I know you don't like to talk about yourself, you're very humble, but tell us about yourself.
Look, I'm a product of southwestern Sydney, so I've lived in this area my whole life. I started in a public housing red brick flat in Cartwright, and then we moved to public housing estate in Bonnyrigg. I went to public schools. I went to Bonnyrigg High School. First in family to go to uni. I met my wife at Bonnyrigg High School. We've been married 20 years this month. 2 kids, they went to Bonnyrigg High School. So as you can see, I haven't
True
drifted.
local.
True local. Haven't drifted very far, but as you can tell, I'm very, very passionate about this area, and I can see its potential. And I'm also very reticent of, some of the people I grew up with and saw, and some of them went on to do amazing things, some of them not so much, but I think that's one of the things that drives me. I went to school, and neighbours and friends that some of the, in my opinion, some of the smartest, most creative, funniest people, but circumstances meant they never got ahead. And one of the things that drives me is to make sure that whenever someone, regardless of circumstances, background, we should really be harnessing people's full potential, and that's what drives me, and I'm a product of that. And I see, some of the kids in the schools and that I go to, and I really want to make sure that we really, make the best of people. Do the best by people.
I want to give the floor back to Karma, because I think it's important life is about balance. And I think from a mother, Karma,
Yes.
I think a good question to Nathan will be about balancing life, politics.
Politics and life. I don't know much about politics, but I know a lot about life. And how important is it to ensure that, especially mums that do want to work, have the facilities and infrastructure around them, because it takes a village to raise a child. So do you feel like you need to be part of that village for the mums in the community? And how do you see yourself helping mums like myself and other ones with little ones? My girls are a bit older now, so
yeah, no, it's incredible. My 2 kids are older now. One of them is in uni, and the other one's he's in year 10. But we were really fortunate in that during sort of both my wife's and my career that we could have times off, and there were times where she did 3 days a week, 4 days a week, and just having that balance of being there for them when you can, but also ensuring that that when you do leave them in care, they're in good places. We've also had a very supportive family who looked after them, and it's always about balance. It doesn't matter what the topic is, priorities and balance. But the thing that I try and not to lose sight of is that I work very long hours. I work very, very hard. But at the end of the day, I'm doing it for my family.
And that communication between...
Correct.
Yeah. So you're married 20, I'm 19, so 1 year behind you.
All right.
So I know how important communication is, not just outside, because you're like in the public eye.
Correct.
And a very public guy, but also trying to keep your communication in the family as well.
Yes.
Do you find that a little bit difficult?
It is, and this is my first term as a member of parliament, and when you get elected, you're very excited. You want to go to everything. You want to do everything, and there's that. There's also the thing in the back of your head is. Until I get to my first election as an MP, I don't really know how I'm going.
Yeah.
So every time you go to an event, there's a few more votes there, and I guess the thing you don't want to do is the day after the election, you lost because you didn't, by a few hundred votes. And so I've got to sort of get that balance right and make sure that, I'm testing the waters with
it's
people.
like trial and error.
and you're going good, you're going okay. But carve out that time for the family and be really, really, really strong on it. So I have a bunch of rules around, how many events at night I go to. We try and have a date night every month.
You got to plan ahead. You can't just wing it.
That's it. And thankfully, I just got back from a week in Vietnam with my wife and I to
How
celebrate.
was
it was fantastic.
Oh, that's amazing.
And, I've come back.
Rejuvenate.
And people tell you, be careful, take a day off. You're going to burn out. And only just sort of getting back in the office this week and how much energy and how much work I've got through, and it's just like, I probably was burnt out.
Yeah, because
life is about balance.
Yeah,
it's about
the work's going to be
balance,
there.
guidance, and purpose, and I think you tick the three boxes.
Yeah.
Let's get into the local economy, and we are very excited. Obviously, Western Sydney International Airport. It's going to be the star and the beacon for Western Sydney, and going to put us on the map locally, nationally, and internationally. And the beauty about it, it's going to be 24/7. And I'm hoping, honestly, from now and on the record, that airport remain 24/7. We don't want to go into down the road like Sydney Airport from 8 to 5. That's just a joke.
No.
But that's a separate topic. Let's talk about Western Sydney growth. Western Sydney is one of the fastest growing regions in the country. From your perspective, what are the most pressing priorities for Leppington and the broader southwest region in the coming years?
Yeah, look, Leppington's right in the heart of that southwest growth area, and it's one of the fastest growing areas in the region. And I like to say it's one thing to build houses, it's another thing to build community, and obviously community is more than housing, and that's probably the most pressing issue, is making sure that we have all that amenity that you wrap around a community, right? So playing fields, parks, good shops, connection and transport and roads. That's the real big one. So we've obviously got some really big announcements up in the 2.5 years I've been here. The one that I go on about at every opportunity is $1 billion for 15th Avenue.
Wow!
And I really can't underplay that one. That's legacy stuff, right? So if you draw a straight line from the Liverpool CBD to the airport, it's essentially Hoxton Park Road and 15th Avenue.
Nice.
And so what that means is not just people in my community in places like Austral, Middleton Grange. It's people in who can get to Liverpool or live in Liverpool in places like Cartwright and Miller. They'll be able to get on what is going to be a high quality turn up and go transport corridor that gets them to the airport and Aerotropolis. It really catalyses that area. And then on top of that, there's another $1 billion. We talk about billion as if it's just, but it is
a key word.
It is a lot of money to secure that corridor for the extension of the Leppington train out to the airport. That hasn't been announced yet, but I'm pushing incredibly hard, and I'm also leaning on people like yourselves. If you've got opportunities in front of people who are going to make these decisions, tell them that this is an important corridor that needs to be funded, and we really need to go out there. So transport's the big one, obviously amenity, and I think education. People in our community know that education is the key, as is business and small business. But in all of this growth area, we talked about the growth. Austral, Leppington, Denver Court, which are those three big suburbs in my area taking all the growth, there wasn't a single public high school in the area. We're now building one. If you drove through here, you would have seen it under construction. Education is also incredibly important. So we're doing a lot of work in that space as well.
I love how you're seeing the gaps and you're there to fill them up. So
it's important, and part of that is listening to the community. I've got ideas, but I test them with the community,
what they need,
and they know me, and they know they can reach out and say, we need this, or that's not working, or have you thought about that? And any good idea is a good idea. It doesn't matter where it comes from.
I feel look, I know it's maybe we're drifting away, but it's important to bring it to the equation. Our Premier Chris Means, I know he's very approachable. He's sort of down to earth. From your role as a member of Parliament, do you feel like he's hands-on, his finger on the pulse across the board?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm privileged in that not only am I the member for Leppington, I'm also the government whip.
Wow.
So when we're in Parliament, I'm in a meeting with him and the leadership group every morning, and I sit behind him in question time. So I've got a little bit more access than the average member of Parliament. But I can tell you, he knows what's going on. He was one of the first people who committed to memory 15th Avenue. So when he was elected opposition leader, a month later, I had him out at 15th Avenue, and he's never forgotten the name of that road. And he's just it's actually incredible how across the detail he is, and that especially goes for Western Sydney. He knows how important the region is for the economy, not just the state economy, but the national economy. He's very passionate about making sure that we get our fair share, because let's be honest, we didn't get that under the previous government, but he's out there making sure that whether it's southwest with people like myself or up in the northwest with people like Warren Kirby, that those growth areas are getting what they need in terms of roads, transport, schools, amenity. So he very, very approachable and gets it.
It's good to hear that. Carmo, if you've got any
With the small business
infrastructure.
The infrastructure. So with major projects underway, such as the Western Sydney Airport and improved transport links, how do you see the infrastructure shaping their region's economic future and quality of life for residents?
Yeah, so there's a guy who's pretty much made his career off the idea of an aerotropolis, John Casada. And he's written a book about it, and what he actually, the whole premise is, towns and cities used to be built around ports, because the main way of trade was through boat.
Yeah.
And then with the advent of the railway, you had sort of cities and towns built around railway stations, and now in the 21st century, cities and economies are going to be charged around airports. But the key is connection. You know, these things succeed or fail based on connection. So the real key around Western Sydney Airport and the Aerotropolis are those connections. So the roads I spoke about previously, 15th Avenue, but we're also upgrading Elizabeth Drive, Memory Road. We're building the M12, and then, of course, public transport. And so you've got some infrastructure going in there around the metro. We're pushing hard to get that other extension from Leppington, and it's also the not quite infrastructure, but the soft connections. So employment pathways, training pathways, investment pathways, which are really important for small and medium businesses. So it's about connection, and key to that is infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Just had sort of from employment opportunities, do you have any figure about Western Sydney Airport? What sort of percentage of employment opportunities going to bring to the table?
There are big numbers that like to get thrown around, and you're certainly talking potentially tens, if not hundreds of thousands of jobs. Certainly in the construction phase of the airport, and then once that's done, you sort of move into the service and hospitality industry.
Chain of reaction.
Yes, and you've got all those industries around it that service it, right? So an airport's not just about planes and pilots. You've got to have catering for the food. You've got to have mechanics. You've got to have a whole bunch of stuff that just acts as a catalyst. And it's one of those really important industries where you've got to have all these other things that service it. And you look at around, Kingsford Smith Airport, all those sort of buildings that serve it. So, airlines are going to have to be set up there. Logistics is a really big part of Western Sydney Airport. So, transport, logistics. So these jobs just, they just keep multiplying. And, for every sort of logistics company, you've then got to have a mechanic. You've got to have mechanics, you've got to have servicing. And then the other bit that we're looking at as well in terms of the airport is effectively industries that don't even exist yet, right? So really advanced aeronautics, robotics,
Advanced manufacturing.
I was just speaking to someone then hasn't landed it yet, but is looking to make a major announcement around, sort of biomedical pharmaceuticals around the airport. So these are all these sort of really smart, well-paid jobs, and they're going to be close to home.
Yeah.
Where's the Bradfield Authority comes into the equation here?
Yeah, so essentially you got the airport, and then below that you've got Bradfield and the Bradfield Development Authority, which is a really fantastic reform that this government has put in place, and again came from some of those conversations I have with the Premier around it just wasn't working. The previous government had announced a whole sort of alphabet soup of different agencies every sort of few years that were going to look after the airport, and it became a bit confusing as their remit was too big, their remit was too small, no one was sure what they were doing. So we've put in place the Bradfield Development Authority, Infrastructure New South Wales, and they've got a plan now, and they're moving forward. And Ken Morrison and the guys are doing some really good stuff. And I get people coming to see me sort of every few weeks, and I put them in contact with Ken, and Ken's having really good conversations with them about the potential for Bradfield. And it's not just domestic. There is some big international players that are really keen to see what's going to happen out there.
So clearly, this sort of progress going to inject life into potential and new the creation of a new SMEs basically in the area.
Building up the economy.
So supporting small and medium businesses, as we know, SME are the backbone of our economy. What key policies or initiatives do you believe are most effective in helping local businesses not only to survive but to thrive in this competitive world?
Yeah, look, we just announced a small business charter, which is really, really important. And I know governments sometimes get criticised for producing lots of glossy documents, but really, you can't be strategic without a strategy. And that charter really sets out how we will engage with small business, but also how small business can engage with each other and with third parties, and it really sort of sets a nice framework to get that done. So I think that's an important piece of the puzzle. But there's been quite a few reforms in that space, and even just some of the key pillars on which we were elected. We made a commitment to end privatisation, and what does that mean for small business? Well, what it means is normally when we were privatising and we're sending these big things out, it was these big national multi-corporates that were picking up these contracts. Now, if you keep it in-house, if you keep it within the government, that's a really good sign for small and medium businesses locally. We're supporting and encouraging them to get on the tender list if they're not, and then also about bringing local manufacturing back. We used to build things in this country. I've seen some examples where we still build things in this country and we build them well. And I think with both the federal and state government supporting the return of local manufacturing, again, that's a real big turbocharger for small and medium enterprise.
Karma, you're a small business person.
Yes.
Do you have any comment? Do you have any question?
So with the whole tender processing, so for me that's very intimidating. Like, how do you answer a tender? Is there any type of support or network that can help a small business do that?
So one of the things we've set up is a business concierge system in Service New South Wales. So you basically go into your local Service New South Wales. The business concierge, if you have a meeting with them, and essentially their job is to sort of go, okay, get to know you and your business, and go, okay, here are some of the opportunities, here are some of the things you need to do, and we're going to help you through that process. So obviously not every business is the same, and there are different opportunities for different businesses, but having someone to guide you through what you said can be a very intimidating process. But making, I guess one of the things is also sort of trying to, I guess, dispel that myth that it is intimidating, that it is daunting, and there's always a lot of paperwork when it comes to government, but trying to cut that red tape. Because at the end of the day, I don't need to tell you guys this, but there's a massive multiplier effect when we get a local company picking up a contract. Right?
So just create more jobs.
Exactly. The money stays locally, the employees work locally. That means they go to the local shops, the local cafes, the local hairdressers, and I think there's a stat where, for every sort of dollar that stays in the community, it gets spent 7, 8, 9 times. While on paper, it might look like giving a contract to the lowest bidder, which is some, multinational from the UK or the US, makes sense. When you really even up the ledger and you say, okay, well, what is the effect on the local community by keeping the money local?
It just multiplies.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's why we need to support local businesses, and the business concierge is a really good way of doing that.
I want to tap into the collaboration between yourself, Charisma, and David Saliba. I feel that it's a trifecta. And as a Southwest, we are very lucky to have such a dynamic, energised key members. And obviously, you are there to represent Leppington. Sometimes you want to be selfish, or you could be selfish. But how do you see a true collaboration and cross-collaboration between yourself and the other members of Parliament, which is you form the Sydney Southwest?
Yeah, look, I don't think any of us are ever selfish, and the three of us work together incredibly well. And even sort of taking a step back, when you include the sort of Macarthur region, people like Greg Warren and Sally Cornell, we all get together, we all get along well, and we understand that an investment in one member's seat is an investment in the region.
Ripple effect.
Yeah, 15th Avenue. It doesn't just it is in my electorate, but it means that Liverpool's connected. But it also means that it's a short train trip to Fairfield to get off at Liverpool and get into the airport. I don't have a hospital in my electorate, but Charisma does. David's done a lot of work on Fairfield Hospital, which isn't in his electorate. So we all understand that it's a region, and as a region, Southwest Sydney is incredibly important, and something for one member benefits the other.
Yeah, it's open communication.
From a university perspective, is there any presence for the Western Sydney University here? Or the classes is Liverpool or Campbelltown?
There's no presence. No presence physically in Leppington, but they understand that this is an important region. We have a very young population, and education's important. So they certainly they've reached out and they've made links. But it's the exact same thing. We've got that campus in Liverpool. We've got the centre in Fairfield there, and I'm a product of Western Sydney University. It's very dear to my heart, and who knows, one day we might get...
Yeah, my daughter was like, Mum, I'm going to go overseas. I'm like, no, Liverpool just opened up.
Correct.
You're going there.
Yeah, I don't think they appreciate it. I used to have to get on the bus when I went to Penrith campus, and it was an hour on the bus.
Yeah, my husband used to do the same.
And
travelled everywhere.
Yeah.
He went even like an hour and a half drive. I forgot which campus it was.
Yep. And just the ability to get on a bus and 15, 20 minutes down the road, you've got a campus is an extraordinary opportunity that I hope our young ones really understand.
Hopefully they do, but it's up to us to say back in the day.
Yeah.
We used to.
We have to walk barefoot all the way to Penrith.
Well, Karma, let's tap into job creation.
Yes, job creation.
Another hard question for Nathan.
Yes, as population growth continues, job creation and workforce readiness are critical. How can government, business and education providers work together to equip our community for the jobs of tomorrow?
Yeah, and this goes back to that comment I made around the soft pathways into the airport and Aerotropolis. These employment pathways, and I've spoken to Minister Wan, who looks after TAFE and skills, and they're doing some incredible work there where with the airport and Aerotropolis, and I keep talking about it, but it is that important that we now have a situation where a kid in year 7 or 8, when they're picking their subjects for year 9 and 10, they have the ability to see forward 5 or 10 years and go, okay, if I do these subjects in year 9 and 10, then in year 11 and 12 I can also do some additional sort of training at TAFE or somewhere else to get some additional certificates and skills while I'm doing my year 11 and 12, and then you're almost guaranteed placement at some of the places that are either building around the airport or going to have businesses around the airport, and then you're going from there. So real employment pathways from essentially sort of early high school right through to postgraduate. And I was at a panel early on when I got elected, and they asked me my vision for the region, my vision for the airport, and it's not a stretch to say that we could have a young girl or young boy who comes here at the age of 2 or 3 now as a refugee, lives in public housing somewhere in Liverpool, goes to a great public school, goes through one of these employment pathways, sets up a business out at the airport, multi-million-dollar ASX 200 business, flies all around the world, and they all do it within the Liverpool LGA.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like that is
It's
not
a great reflection.
that is not unthinkable. So we have a lot
Sky's
of
the limit.
opportunity. Yes, 100%.
You're a community-minded person, and very supportive to small business as well. We at the CBCC will believe strong communities and strong businesses go hand in hand. In your view, what role should Chamber of Commerce and local business networks play in driving economic resilience?
Yeah. I talk about my job as the local member is to deliver the bricks. So I deliver the schools and the roads, and it's up to community to be the mortar that sort of builds the brick
So you
wall.
lead them to drink water, as we say.
Correct.
Lead.
And small business and chambers are critical to that, as are sporting groups and community groups and our places of worship. But small businesses are absolutely essential, and I think of some of the small businesses in my area, and I don't want to favour one over another, but there's a lovely cafe up the road here called Garden of Eden. Young bloke, messy. He started it up, and it's really become a centre of the community. He hosts Christmas parties every year, and he's had big events where he just opens the place up, and the guy that owns the shopping centre gives him, sort of carte blanche to do what he wants, and all the politicians turn up from all persuasions. The local priests turn up. It's a real community event, and he's essentially become the centre of the community. This is a growing community. We don't sort of have a city centre yet. We don't have a community centre. We don't have those places, and he's essentially doing the heavy lifting. And I can give you, half a dozen examples of businesses in this area that are doing that, and that's why they're critical to it. And it's just good business. People, they then end up knowing him. They know he's got a good product, and they just go back there. So I think
he's doing it for the right reasons.
He loves his community.
Yeah.
They're his customers, and this view that sort of businesses here and communities here, and they're sort of binaries is completely wrong. And even if you go back to the early days of industry, people like Cadbury, who founded the Cadbury chocolate, he was, a philanthropist, and he was involved in his community, and, he was very passionate about, his job wasn't just to look after people from 9 to 5. He had a responsibility for his employees and his customers 24/7. And I think if we take that view and, we're all pulling in the same direction, that's a fantastic thing.
I'm not sure if Leppington has any sort of signature events every year. Is there something like a festival you do hold here, or is there anything like part of an annual events?
We have a couple of events. So there's the biannual Southwest Festival, so at Thomas Hassell. So Thomas Hassell Anglican College hosts that every 2 years. They had that a couple of months ago. That's a really good festival. Some of the other schools have festivals as well, but because it's an emerging community, we sort of don't have the spaces and the organisations to do that yet. But let's hope. I don't think we're far off probably seeing that the Southwest Festival will become an annual thing. But like a lot of things, whether it's going to the hospital or going to the university, I think people in Leppington realise that at least for the next few years we're going to have to travel out, and no doubt we're happy to travel out to places like William Inglis Hotel for the Food and Wine Festival
This Sunday.
This Sunday.
Yes,
really looking forward to that one. But I think people here are happy to travel, not too far, but happy to travel for a good time.
Karma, any final remarks?
Very good. I love that they're all very passionate with the community, and you're helping bring other businesses together. So we're talking about the vision of Western Sydney next.
Yeah, final remarks.
So finally, looking ahead, what is your long-term vision for Western Sydney, and how can businesses and community leaders contribute to making it a reality?
Yeah, I got ahead of myself by telling that story about the young person, but
what I just said.
That is genuinely the vision. As I said, I've lived here my whole life, and a lot of us for a long time have really worked hard to push back against that perception of Westies and Western Sydney. I'm a proud Westie, but that perception of Western Sydney, and there's still a lot of work to do. But with places like Western Sydney University and the airport and the Aerotropolis and the work that you guys are doing, we're really on the cusp of doing something special. And it's not quite my vision, but it's my sales pitch, which is if you are looking to invest in this region, if you're looking to invest in the airport and the Aerotropolis, wherever you are in the world, I can guarantee you I know someone that speaks your language and understands your culture. And I don't think any region on earth has that, on the scale that we do.
We're very lucky. We are a true multicultural society.
Absolutely. Yep.
And the beauty about it, I think we need to make sure we can cement that sense of purpose and a sense of harmony.
Yes.
A sense of acceptance and respect.
Yes.
Regardless of your faith and background, all that kind of thing. I think we need to be all true Australian.
Yep. We're going. We've seen a couple of instances where we're going through a bit of a tough patch at the moment, but we really need to push back against that, and and really be proud of the fact that we are the most successful multicultural nation on earth.
We need to keep it that way.
And we need to keep it that way. And as I just explained, it is, one of our best, if not our best assets. I travel a bit and I go to different places around the world, and they're all wonderful. But nothing beats this part of the world.
This is one of our
Feels like
successful products that we can export to the world.
Absolutely.
To be honest, I think, Nathan, as a final remarks for everyone, for our audience and for our listeners, do you have anything final message?
No, look, I think if you live in southwestern Sydney or not, you really need to get behind us, and I hope I've convinced you that this is a fantastic region, and let's all keep working hard and moving in the right direction, and we're going to see some amazing things over the years to come.
Would you consider coffee with Nathan? Like coffee with a cup? Is that something you can consider?
Yeah,
as an initiative?
Well, Chari's got Charisma's got chai with Chari.
I love that. There we go.
We'll see you
Wally's
this
going to be
Friday.
there.
Yeah, she's got chai with Chari, and ever since she announced
Maybe
that,
let's kick something with Nathan. Something.
Yeah, I thought about nicotine with Nathan. Just have a smoke, but that's probably
Or
I
maybe
don't smoke,
netball,
and that's
netball,
not
Nathan.
There's
Yeah.
that green tea. What do you call that?
matcha.
Matcha? Maybe they call it matcha with Nathan.
Matcha. I do like matcha.
I don't know. I'm just thinking
I don't know.
something
I know.
besides coffee with a cup.
She
kind of thing.
set the benchmark so high that we've all just
We'll just chat GBT and see
Well,
what
whenever you launch
send your
this,
suggestions in.
there you go.
Karma, it's been a lovely afternoon.
yes, it
Thanks
has
for the
been.
company and the
Thank
support.
you.
And obviously, we would love to thank Factory Sound and New South Wales Government
Yes.
for helping us to generate this podcast, which is, as you can see, it's a wonderful platform, allows us to share sincere and genuine stories, sense of humor, some unique perspective. At the end of the day, it's a learning lesson, and we're all growing along the way. So thank you for your time. Stay amazing and be unstoppable.
Thank you. That brings us to an end of another episode of the CBCC Voice Business Unboxed podcast. Thank you for listening and being part of our community. If you enjoyed today's conversation, please subscribe, leave a review, and share the episode with your network.